Hello. So yes, my name's Richard Llewellyn, and I'm the Executive Director of TiME. And yeah, hello and welcome to our TiME Autumn webinar series. For those who don't know much about TiME, TiME stands for Technology in Music Education UK, and we've been around for just over 4 years. We concentrate on three main areas of music technology, these being education, SEND, and community music groups, with an umbrella of new technology covering all those three areas. To keep up to date with all that's going on within music education, especially within technology, please sign up to our free TiME membership, where you'll be able to get access to lots of free resources, including free downloadable posters, videos, articles about new tech, and our regular newsletter. Kate's going to post the link in the chat, but it's pretty much www.timemusicuk.org. So this evening, it's really all about SEND, the SEND area of music technology. And I'm delighted to introduce you to Adrian Price. Adrian is the director of Soundbeam, and he will be giving us a full demo of the amazing Soundbeam 6, as well as answering any questions. The Soundbeam is a really clever musical instrument that can be played by anyone. I believe it was first released in about 1989, so about 34 years ago, which is incredible. And I'm sure much has changed since then. So with no further ado, it's over to you, Adrian.
Okay, well, thank you ever so much for having me along. I'm delighted to be here with you virtually, and I'm at your mercy and service. Should you have any questions for me at any point, any of you, please don't hesitate to throw them at me, either via the chat or if you're not muted, shout them out to me. It's always lovely to have a bit of to and fro here, but I shall endeavour to convey as much as I can, as succinctly as I can, and take you on this little journey here of exploration into Soundbeam 6. Now, for some reason, I wanted to spotlight this. Oh dear. Okay, I don't want to have any technical issues here, but it looks like I'm already having one. I want to show you this device here is a telephone, which is on top of this little stand here, so that I can point it down at my. If anyone's there and can hear me, and you're able to add my telephone, this telephone, can you spotlight that? I don't seem to be able to do that anymore.
Hi, Adrian. I'm looking into that as
Okay,
we
lovely,
speak as to why
lovely.
that's not working, and I shall keep working on that and let you know.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Well, no worries. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Soundbeam, as Richard said, it was originally imagined the best part of 34, 35 years ago as a tool for dancers to be able to express themselves and create music through their movement on a stage. So these red ultrasonic sensors are in the business of throwing out an invisible beam. So this is very much in the field of bats and dolphins and submarines. This is echolocation, and they will detect distance and movement towards and away from the sensor, distances up to 5 meters or as short as just 1 or 2 centimeters now as well. So that's the primary focus. And so as I move my hand in that beam, you'll be able to hear some notes. And there's another instrument with similar notes. So on the back of this device here, I've got some power coming in. I've got the two sensors. That's the red things to my left and right. I've got this little green cable is going to some powered speakers. I've also got a HDMI lead connected, and that's going to enable us to trigger some film. What I'd really like to show you is the host asked you to start your video. Okay, nice. Okay, cool. Thank you, host. I think we're going to be back in the room here with that. Yeah, so what I'd like to do is to spotlight that. Add spotlight. Thank you, Kate. That's brilliant. So what we see here on my table is the face of this. So like I was saying just now, I've got HDMI coming in here. I've got audio out. I've got a couple of beams connected, and I've got some power coming in here with an on-off button. So the concepts haven't changed very much over the past 30 odd years, in that we pre-program the machine with these musical experience that you can immediately load and engage with. So for example, here's Arabian Nights. I don't know if you can see that there, but if I was to click on the Arabian Nights, lo and behold, what we'll see here is a depiction of the 4 beams, and that's the maximum number of beams you can have with the system, and also a depiction of 8 switches. So you'll see that this switch 1, when I press that, you see some activity here. You also hear a backing track, and you'll also see some film up here. So this is our desert scene with the camels and the palm trees and so on. So the beam is able to, we're able to put any instrument sound into any beam, any scale, any number of notes, any pitch. So this has evolved over the 35 years, courtesy of all the requests and the feedback we've had from users around the world. And to date, we've got about 6,000 Soundbeam systems around the world of various types. So we're on version 6 now, and this is it. So we've incorporated this concept of film and backing tracks, and that's just born of the requests we've had from users. Let's start with something pretty simple in my explanation here. So if I was to look, for example, at this, we can obviously see the notes that are being triggered here. Now, if we look at this little bit of text here, that says beam 2, so that's plugged into the beam 2 socket here, and the range is from 25 centimeters to 67 centimeters. Now I was saying earlier that it could be up to 5 meters, so if I just drag that little white dot, I can extend that beam. And so I'm no longer able to reach those notes without standing up. I should get a step ladder and I should be able to reach the rest of them. If I bring that little dot right down, I can bring it down to, let's say, 25 centimeters, that says, to 33 centimeters. So now we've got an 8 centimeter beam with all these 20 or so notes in. So the beam's no longer up here. It's going to be a bit tricky for me to play that steadily with my hand, but if I chose to, for example, play it with my face here, so of course, even the slightest of movement, with even the slightest of movement, you'll be able to access and engage with this flute sound, and in essence, play this invisible flute in space. If I just tap on that little button there to head back towards this page here, which is where we have our pre-programmed musical pieces. So here's Ganges, for example. We've got a bit of percussion, some film of a little trip down the Ganges. If I tap here and we get Guitar Hero, we got some heavy rock there. Can assign any sound, any sample, and when I talk about samples, I'm talking about MP3s and WAV files that you can be assigned to the switches or to the beams. We've also got a huge library of sounds that you can allocate to the various switches and the beams. So let's have a quick look at that. So for example, on beam 1 here, if I tap on that little icon there, we're going to get all the options that we might want to engage with in relation to what that beam is doing for us. So the sound that I've got selected for beam 1 is a distorted guitar. So here's a huge list of alphabetically listed sounds that are in there. So, you know, there's a gorilla there. What's that? So this is there's hundreds upon hundreds of sounds in there. Backing tracks, airplanes, cars, thunderstorms, animal. Let's have a quick look at some animal stuff. So let's jump to a jungle walk. So we've got a little bit of film here. Walk, steady little pan through the jungle undergrowth, and we can embellish that with the different animal sounds. If you wanted to play a recognizable tune, and I'll just jump to Old MacDonald just for the sake of it. Is that in here? Yeah, Old MacDonald. So what you'll notice now is that the beam is no longer chopped into all these different sections that you can improvise through. And by the way, that's where Soundbeam often really gets to shine, is giving people this opportunity to create music with their movements and their gestures and the switches, but we're putting the stabilizers on, musically speaking, so that everything's going to work in harmony, and we're giving people an opportunity just to explore and play in this wonderful world of music creation, really. But you can give people a more challenging experience. So here, for example, having loaded Old MacDonald, we've got this opportunity to move through the series of notes sequentially just by entering the beam and exiting it and entering it again. That's the first note. And then we can assign the different sounds and films to the different. So, for example, on switch 2 here, if I press that, we're getting the cow and we're getting the sound of a cow. If I tap the top of switch 2, up come the options here. So again, the sound that I've got assigned currently to switch 2 is a cow. The video at the bottom here, if I go to video file, we've got the cows from Old MacDonald is the film that I've got assigned. If I change that to what can we have? Let's have butterflies. So on switch 2 now, we've got some butterflies, or the cats from Old MacDonald, or a dog in the car. So it's dead easy to assign different films to switches and different sounds to switches, and to create and build your own sound sets. We're calling these things. So the dog in the car, let's jump back to that. So that's a sound set that we call Bueno Bristol. A little bit of flamenco here, a little bit of percussion. By the way, these switches here are wireless, so they send a little signal out over the air. It's radio frequency. It's not Bluetooth, because that sort of introduces a bit of delay. So they can trigger a series of notes, of chords, a backing track, the film. It's all very, very versatile and very adaptable and modifiable. And what I'd like to point out is this thing. So on the side here is a jack socket, so that if your students have a switch that they're familiar with or find easier to play, are comfortable with, that could be a Jelly Bean, a Big Mac, a tilt switch, a sponge switch, a toggle switch, a head switch, they can connect to our switches and hijack that. So that could potentially be in their chair, attached to the switches that are embedded in their chair, and they could be accessing. So yeah, you can use other switches with this technology with our system. There we go. I am sort of pacing through this a little bit, but I'm going to be welcoming questions. I could maybe take a little pause. If in case there's any questions, I'd have them. But otherwise, I'm going to go on to explain a little bit about how you can record your performance that's being generated with all the beams and switches at the touch of a button here. so you can hit record and capture the whole piece. Come on, let's do that. But please, if someone's got a question, can you pop it in the chat, and then Kate will give it to me in a minute. If you've got a question, I'm going to proceed. So I'm going to just, what am I going to do? I'm going to press that button there, so it's recording. And then if I tap on that little button there, this is the recording we just made. We could trim it. Yeah, and then so we could save that recording as a time demo or whatever. Demo, okay, and then that sample is now inside the machine forever, but you can export it using a USB stick, and then we can get into that if you like, but there's more interesting things to look at. Potentially, for example, this concept of recording your own sounds in. So that was a recording of a performance, let's say, but it's quite often really a lovely idea to give people the opportunity to explore using their own sounds. So, excuse me. So I'm just going to pop this into a little socket on the back, which has got a picture of a microphone on it. I'm going to go back. Yes, please.
While you're doing that, Adrian, just a quick one. Fantastic what you're showing there, and I'm just thinking how that could fit in with things like the Sounds of Intent framework and Trinity. So if you're able to actually record someone performing, you've got evidence of expression. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. You could build up a whole library of it, and there could be a whole evolution within that, and keep the record of their progress and so forth. That reminds me that we did commission David Ashworth to produce a series of chapters to take the teachers to give them the ability to deliver the national curriculum for music using Soundbeam. Not exclusively, but this is how you can incorporate Soundbeam into the national curriculum. So there's a whole host of wonderful sort of activities and ideas within here. Then I can PDF this to anybody who wants it quite happily. In fact, you can click on our link on our Soundbeam website, www.soundbeam.co.uk, and you can download this book. And this refers also to the Sound of Intent pretty much at every stage. But there we go, assessment criteria. There we go.
So for those that don't know what the Sounds of Intent is, do you want to just explain that a little bit?
Me? No, no, I don't. I think please investigate it. It's a beautiful thing. It's come out of University of Roehampton with Adam Ockleford, but I can't do it justice. I'd need more than just a couple of minutes to do that. So forgive me. I'd rather just show you a little bit more about this, if I may.
Fantastic, thank you.
Okay, so we just had a quick look at recording. So you making use of your own sounds, your own sounds. Of your own sounds, So just grabbing hold of a little bit of audio like that and saving the recording, your own sounds. Okay, our user. Okay, so that's a sample that's just been recorded. So if I wanted to put it into a beam, and I probably wouldn't, but here we go. So sound, if I go to this letter Y down there, your own sound. And of course you could assign this to a beam if you wanted to, to a switch or to switches. That can be quite an interesting thing, is to make recordings in the field with your students and have the ownership of the material. Likewise with their films, if you've got films that you've made with your students, they can be put into the machine and assigned to the different switches. What else have we got in here? So I'm just going to tap here. I'm going to say no, I don't want to save the changes I've made. What else might we look at? We could look at using it in storytelling, in literacy, and so forth. so here we've got our detective story. So we've got the film of the New York's skylines and street scenes and the cars and the taxis and the rains and the dogs. This is a sort of Philip Marlowe-esque type of thing.
It was a dirty, dark night. The rain was coming down. The shots rang out, and the police were on their way.
So yeah, you can. We've got the House of Horror in here. Come Halloween, we've got Christmas stuff. We've got space. So this idea of building stories and putting sound to it, Foley art, really. I mean, that film progresses to have the dogs and the police cars and the helicopters, which are on the other switches. So yeah, it can have up to 8 switches, up to 4 beams. Again, I shall say.
Adrian,
Yes, please.
I was just wondering how many sound packs are there included with the system?
Yeah, thanks. Well, in fact, all these with a little play button go out with every machine, and there are 50 of these. So some of them are the majority are sort of musical improvisation, so that you can just dive in and make music in these different themes. Some are compositions that you're familiar with. Some are sort of environmental and story based. And each of them has a bit of a write-up in the manual to give you some playing ideas and give you an idea of what's going on each of the beams and switches. Thank you, Kate. So 50 is the answer, but you can also create your own, and there's a huge amount of space inside this machine for the building of your own. So we might suggest that, well, you could certainly modify. So this one's called Sleuth and Sleuth Brenda. So this, I've probably been explaining to Brenda at some point about how you can modify that sound set and save a couple of changes and make a modified version of it. But you could start from scratch with a new sound set. So we just give you middle C on each of the switches and a simple string of notes in the beam, and you can go from there, assigning your own scales or scales off of the, on the beaten path, your chromatic, your blues scale, your Aeolian and so forth, and they're all to be found in here. So the beam 1, the scale, here we go. So this is the user default, this is the morning is broken, but you can build your own scales, like I say, instead of pulling from these sort of what have we got here, the blues and yeah, this is my demo machine, so it's absolutely full of hundreds of different scales that I put in there. Many of them will be relating to the different sound sets that are in there. There's your chromatic scale and anyway, where were we? Yeah, so if you wanted to build your scales, by the way, you can do that. So let me just go back to that button there. So to the left of the microphone is this concept here. So if you wanted to, you could build your own scale. So I've got 11 notes there, so I could save that scale as time demo. 11, okay, and then if I go back, if I wanted to if I want to put that into beam 1 here, I go to scale. I'm going to press T. I'm going to go to, what have I just done wrong? Oh dear, what did I just do wrong? Oh, there it is. Time. Sorry, I'm just not reading it. Time demo. I want 11 divisions. 1, 2, 3, 4. Da-da-dee. Or I could slide like this. So we want 11. So you can build your own scales very easily. Let's just jump back to that. If you wanted to build a chord sequence, we could drop that. We could build some. And then you could assign different chords to the switches, or a series of chords to a switch. A series of chords on a switch, what would that look like? We could look at something like where are we? Packard Bell. Let's have a look at that. So we'll all be familiar with this. When I press this switch, So then we got the sort of string ensemble. It's a bit lighter. I've got it set up to continue for a certain amount of time. So that's just a setting in the trigger. Harpsichord taking us on the same journey. And a big church organ. So you've got your choice of instrument to take you on the series of chords. There's several sound sets in here that might excite and delight. We've got pieces in here where you can play along with musicians. So this is this lovely composer, Pete Judge. There's a mixer in here if you want to adjust the levels of different things. And you can apply, so this is, this is a bit of a Fisher-Price mixing desk here. So you can solo any of the 4 beams or 8 switches. You can adjust the volume for each of those. You can apply a couple of effects to each beam or a switch, and you can mute them. So again, sorry, this is a bit of a rushed explanation of what's going on here, but this is as simple as we could possibly make our mixer. So you've got independent control of the volume, some effects such as echo, reverb, flanger, chorus, distortion. Okay. Have we got any questions coming in? Shall I just take a little pause here?
Yeah, let's do that. Well, I have, there aren't any questions in the chat yet, but I've got quite a few questions here, Adrian. So obviously, you know, how much is the Soundbeam and where do I buy it from?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd be delighted and excited if you got it from us. We have had distributors in the UK over the years, but they're sort of
Yeah.
Hey, I like that. I don't know what that was. Here, buy it from here. Is that the answer? Yeah, buy it from us. The system, the price hasn't changed over the last sort of 5 years since we released this. We've managed to keep the price the same, and in fact, I suppose in real terms, it hasn't really changed over its existence in relation to other things that you might be buying in this world. So it's £3.5 grand for what you're looking at. So that's a 4-switch 2-beam kit with the controller. We'd also include with that a microphone for your own recordings, a nice set of powered speakers, and the stands that you'll need for your 2 beams. But you could have a larger system with 8 switches and 4 beams, and that's about 4.5 plus VAT. By the way, sorry, I should include, let you know that. So 3.5 plus VAT for this, 4.5 plus VAT for a larger system. And from us, info@Soundbeam or sales@soundbeam.co.uk would get to us, please. And I'm Adrian at soundbeam.co.uk. Soundbeam.co.uk. If you got any requests or questions for me, yes, please. Any other question, Kate? Or
yeah, no. Is there any bulk purchase discounts or
yeah, we're always open. I mean, most of our systems go into either charitable organisations or educational establishments, so it's a bit hard for us to sort of apply such discounts. I mean, we do everything we can to keep the price down, but for a bulk purchase for a hub or for an organisation that might be wishing to put systems in various places within a school or an organisation, yes, we're open to negotiation, absolutely.
That's brilliant. And you know, because you've had a lot of Soundbeams going out to schools in Wales, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we were approached by a company who had been in touch with a hub over there, a music service, and on the back of that, we supplied through them about 25 Soundbeam systems to the schools in Wales. And we're just hoping, I suppose, that the hubs and services in the UK will sort of keep up with the Joneses there a bit, especially in line with this new tranche of money which is coming out soon from the government about facilitating assistive musical technology for learners with disability. So we're hoping that might sort of, that we might see a few more hubs and music services taking this on, but a lot of them are already doing so and have Soundbeam available. Now that might be an earlier version because like I say, we've been supplying Soundbeams throughout the UK, throughout the world for the past 30 plus years now. There's a lot of sound beams out there around the country, but maybe not so many Soundbeam sixes. But we're always interested in sort of helping people with regards to upgrading their kit and getting that up to date.
Lovely. So if I've got a Soundbeam in my cupboard, I can get in touch with you, and you would be able to help get that back up and running or
Yeah,
upgraded.
absolutely. Yeah. And I'm doing a lot of on that note, training wise, I'm doing a lot of training like this. I'm very able to give people, or we're very able to give people support in this way, where you would have your equipment set up at your end, and I'd be here, or one of us would be here, and we could guide you through some operational things and some functionality. I'm gliding through this, but everything that's in here is as simply laid out as we could possibly make it. And we hope is quite intuitive. And if you've got knowledge of earlier Soundbeam systems, you'll find this a breath of fresh air. And for many people, they find it clarifies things that they've never quite understood correctly about Soundbeam. The trigger modes and the scales and so forth. This is it's just a delight to have it all laid out like this.
Okay, that's lovely. And I know you've got a couple of films that you want to show, but before we move on,
I'd love to.
yeah, do you do any trials? Is it possible to trial Soundbeam?
Yeah, that's a bit tricky. I mean, our door's always open down here in Bristol. And in the past we have it's usually to sort of home users who might who might need that experience. But we have in the past sort of in essence hired a system for a few weeks on the understanding that if it was then subsequently purchased, that we would remove that cost or deduct that cost from the final purchase cost of the kit. So there are ways around that, and so it's not impossible, but
Right.
it's just yeah. There we go.
All right. Well, and we do actually have a question from Mark, which is, and I think you might have answered this, but what do you suggest in terms of training to get the most out of the Soundbeam?
Yeah, well, I would suggest ideally a 3 hour session with one of us here. And what I've covered here in 20-25 minutes, I would go through with you very slowly and methodically whilst you try these things at your end. And I would usually like to do that over 2 hours. Obviously there's a few things that we haven't looked at, like we haven't really had an in-depth look at the different trigger modes. But I've showed you how to make recordings. I've showed you how to create a scale. But we just do that whole lot slower with you trying it at that end, putting it into a beam, exploring the beam. So I would suggest doing that over 2 hours, and then also having a good hour to play and find issues that you want to discuss further. And sometimes people will have an hour or two, and then come back for another session a few weeks later once they've want to take it to another level. So that's the online Zoom training that we charge £75 an hour for. We're always happy to give an hour or so just to help people get started and get moving with it for free with the kit. So that's just something we just offer us. And of course I'm always delighted if anybody's got a question or something they'd like some help with. I'm always ready to jump on Zoom or on the telephone or email. You just got lifetime support with Soundbeam always, and we're just excited when people are trying to do interesting things with it, or even not so interesting things. Even it's just the most simple thing that they're struggling to come to grasp. I mean, for me, when I first met this technology nearly 25 years ago, when I joined the company as a T-boy, I had to be told things 6 times, and I had to try them for myself 10 times before before it really began to sink in. So I do understand the sort of the weird intangible concept that this is, but once you just start exploring it and moving in the beams and so forth, this could be quite a game changer. It can be liberating, and it can be just for people just to get lost in it. And I've seen it. I see it all the time, and I hear stories about it all the time. And yeah, I've got a couple of bits of film that I would like to show you before we wrap up. I'd love to hear any feedback from anybody who's. Thanks, Mark, for that question, by the way. it got answered. Yeah, I'd love to have anyone ask me anything, of course. Um, all right. Is there anything you wanted to add before I show a bit of film there, Kate?
I think that was great, and obviously everybody's very welcome to, you know, pop any questions in the chat or just pop their mic on and ask. But yeah, it'd be great to see the film, Adrian. Thank you.
Okay. Well, it's a bit. I'm not too sure what to show you really, because over the 30+ years, there's been a huge, diverse array of films that I've seen, either that people have put up on YouTube, or that I've seen on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook and so forth. And so I don't really know what to show you. I could. I don't know. Here's something that is quite recent. So it was only a few weeks ago that I had this. No, it was a couple of months ago or 3, where I had this concept of doing a school to school Zoom. So that I put a school in Greenwich, Charlton Park Academy, and in touch with Victoria Education Centre in Dorset, and myself, and so they rehearsed a couple of pieces each, and so I just had this idea that students would be performing over Zoom. It wasn't without technical difficulties on the day, but here's a lovely little piece from that. So without much further ado, let me try and share screen. So if I click on that and click on that and click on that, I hope that you can. Has that worked? Can you see my screen?
Yes, got it there.
Can you?
Yes.
I'm going to click on. What else we got here? This is a really old bit of film. Oh, what's happened here? Sorry, I've got something playing in the background. Where's that coming from? You know what that is? That's some advert or something over there. Where were we? Yeah, so this is Ari Kanathi, who's gone on to make about 3 albums now with Soundbeam over the years. He's out in the west coast of Canada. Don't know if so he's using the Beam, using Soundbeam.
Today we're featuring one of his first orchestral compositions. Although you heard the Soundbeam.
It may be hard for you to hear this. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Sorry, I'll shut up. Maybe I'll just play this. Forgive me.
Today we're featuring one of his first orchestral compositions. Although you heard the Soundbeam, which he was utilizing, there is a blistering electric guitar in it that Ari likes to play. So basically the song is a 5-minute piece that Ari composed, and he plays the Soundbeam live for 2 different sections of it. You're going to hear the entire piece, so just sit back and listen to a beautiful piece of music that Ari composed. And you can also watch an amazing Soundbeam performance. If you're not familiar with the Soundbeam, what it is it gives out ultrasonic sound, and where you intercept that ultrasonic sound, you can transfer it to the computer that reads MIDI, so you can play music. MIDI is a computer language for music, basically. Yeah, Conquest. Ari titles this piece Conquest. It's an absolutely beautiful piece. I ask you to sit back and just listen and enjoy this lovely piece of music Ari will play.
because I'd love to show you some other little pieces, if I may. So this is conversely, this is a very short beam, super short. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Don't know what that is. Stop it. But I should. Yeah, I'm not very well prepared for that. Maybe that's enough film. Maybe we're approaching the hour mark. I think. Just a couple of little things to conclude here. Each of these sound sets that are inside the machine have a little audition button next to them, so that you can get an idea. You can get an idea. That's a beauty. This is a Bristol musician, John Baggett. So there's the backing track. Yeah, I'll keep going all day. I mean, I would truly love it if somebody would pipe. But hello, there's a real life person there, Abigail Sudbury. I thank you for putting your camera on. It's lovely to see the human being out there instead of a load of names and little red markers. Abigail, can I just ask you something? Could you unmute yourself, please? Don't know how. There we go. Abigail, I think I had an email from you today. You were saying you were trying to join this, but you're going to be a bit late. Well, thanks for finding us, and thanks for showing us your camera. Hello. I hope you caught some of that. Have you got any thoughts or questions on the back of what you've seen that might throw up a little 2 minutes of dialogue that might be interesting, more interesting than me waffling on about technology?
I'm not sure I've got anything useful for the rest of the team. I think I arrived a little bit too late, really. I think I'd love to see the beginning and see how it works.
Oh, okay. There was a recording made of this, I believe, that hopefully you can see.
Yeah, that's right. So sorry, Kate, you speak.
No, it's fine. Yes, Abigail, we're recording it and we'll pop it on the Time website
brilliant.
in the next few days.
Lovely.
No, it's beautiful, and really I can see how it works really well with some of the people that I work with. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Abigail. I mean, bearing in mind that you missed some things, is there anything that you would like to ask?
So it's a little bit about the film, how that came about.
The film inside the machine that gets played. Yeah, sure. I'd love to just go over that very quickly. We've got this concept. I suppose that back in the early days of Soundbeam, we would make the haunted house sound set so that you got the spooky sounds. In fact, let's have a very quick look at that. So if we load the what do we call it? We call it the haunted house. So we've got a spooky sound here. We've got the wolf howl here. And there's the film on switch 3. So we've got some thunder and lightning and some film. And by the way, on the other switches we have these little We've got vomit on switch 7. Not everybody's cup of tea, but okay, let's get to the film. So for you might have missed this, but again, let me show you. If I tap the top, instead of pressing here, which is literally doing the same as that with this wireless switch, if I tap the top of the switch, up come the options. So this is where I can choose the sound, and at the moment I've got Thunder 2. And that, by the way, you can audition it. Sounds like that. Thunder 1, I don't know what that sounds like. Let's have a listen. Nice. And what's Thunder 3? That's Thunder 3. So let's change that to Thunder 1. Anyway, so that's how you assign a sound from this huge list of different sounds that are in here, alphabetical, and you can add your own sounds to this list. Film, which is what you're asking about. If I go to video options, the video file that I've got assigned to switch 3 is called Haunted House. I've also got the option here to trigger the film in different ways. So at the moment it's on latching, and that's to say I press the switch and the film plays until I press it again and the film stops. So this is the concept of latching. I could change that to on off, which is to say that I need to press and hold it, and then when I take my hand off it will stop. So we've got different play options with the sounds and with the videos. And then the video play mode, well, you've got the opportunity to loop it so it begins again or it stops again. Now you might have missed it earlier, but something like we've got 2 in here. We've got the jungle walk where we've got jungle animals on the different on the different switches. So here's your tiger, some monkeys, some elephants, and there's a bit of a backing film that you can then overlay those with. So being able to play along with musicians. There's a wonderful musician called Galen Lee, who's an American folk musician. She's a great TED talker, disability rights speaker. She's a wonderful woman and has become a friend. I found her online. She won a Tiny Desk concert competition back in 2015 with the song Someday We'll Linger in the Sun, and here it is. I wrote to her a couple of times and eventually found out that she was just across the bridge in Wales at the Green Man Festival, and I went across there and introduced myself, and we became friends, and her and her husband and a guitarist, Paul, and I put on a couple of gigs here in Bristol, and I also set up a gig for her at National Star College in Cheltenham and something down in Dorset. So she plays the violin like others will play a cello, and she loops it with a little loop pedal down at her feet here. I'm going to stop it, but I don't want to stop it. I hate stopping it, but do check it out. It's just stunning. Absolutely, it's made some beautiful albums. So yeah, please do check her out. Thank you, Galen. Yeah, no, it's just absolutely beautiful. So GAELYNLEA, I think. Galen Lee, I think. Is that what it says? Maybe not. Anyway, forgive me. Sorry, I'm just looking for the spelling because I never quite get it.
It's in the chats.
Is it? Is it? Okay.
Yeah, Debbie. Thanks, Debbie, for putting that in the chat.
Debbie, thank you.
That's been absolutely fantastic. There's a lot there. It's an amazing bit of kit. You know, congratulations on everything you've done over.
Well, for you, let me pause you and just say, I mean, this is 35 years of evolution, courtesy of some absolutely wonderful and fantastic people. The inventor Edward Williams and the people from EMS, Robin Wood and Ed's wife and family of making it. There's a ridiculous amount of beautiful people that have been involved in the evolution of this. I just happen to be sort of steering the ship at the moment with my gorgeous colleagues, Cindy and Tim and Steph. So yeah, sorry, I'll shut up. I just wanted to chuck that out there. It's not me.
No, it was really important, and yeah, thank you so much for the demonstration. So we put your email address in the chat earlier. So Adrian@soundbeam.co.uk.
Yeah.
And the website, as we can see, is on the screen there, and we can get more details from you at any time. So yeah, the video will be recorded and will be up on our site fairly soon, and we'll send a message around letting people know where it is. But I think that's a good place to conclude the evening. Thank you so much to everybody, and we'll see you all again soon.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all so much.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.